believe in anything I say. No, don't go believing me. No, don't listen to me, don't take any notice. Don't listen to anything that I say. Thank you.
Began last year, the whole United Kingdom has been engaged in a great national effort to fight COVID. And there's no doubt that in fighting the old variant of the virus, our collective efforts were working and would have continued to work. But we now have a new variant of the virus, and it's been both frustrating and alarming to see the speed with which the new variant is spreading. Our scientists have confirmed.
We already know that it does not remove paint, it isn't a good glue, and when used as a shampoo, it produces unusual side effects.
This new variant is between 50 and 70% more transmissible. That means you're much, much more likely to catch the virus and to pass it on.
Spreading like a tornado.
As I speak to you tonight, our hospitals are under more pressure from COVID than at any time since the start of the pandemic. In England alone, the number of COVID patients in hospitals has increased by nearly a third in the last week to almost 27,000. And that number is 40% higher than the first peak in April.
Real numbers and percentages. You tend not to mix them. Stick to one format.
On the 29th of December, more than 80,000 people tested positive for COVID across the UK, a new record. The number of deaths is up by 20% over the last week and will sadly rise further. And my thoughts are with all those who've lost loved ones. With most of the country already under extreme measures, it's clear that we need to do more together to bring this new variant under control while our vaccines are rolled out.
You know, if this virus rolls out...
In England, we must therefore go into a national lockdown which is tough enough to contain this variant.
It means we can
You were going to say suppress. You weren't going to say vaccinate or, sort of inoculate or anything else. It's just suppression.
That means the government is once again instructing you to stay at home. You may only leave home for limited reasons permitted in law, such as to shop for essentials, to work if you absolutely cannot work from home, to exercise, to seek medical assistance, or to escape domestic abuse. The full details of what you can and can't do will be available at gov.uk/coronavirus. If you are clinically extremely vulnerable, we're advising you to begin shielding again, and you will shortly receive a letter about what this means for you. And because we now have to do everything we possibly can to stop the spread of the disease, primary schools, secondary schools, and colleges across England must move to remote provision from tomorrow, except for vulnerable children and the children of key workers.
Permit or provision? Rather interesting.
Everyone will still be able to access early years settings such as nurseries.
We recognise that this will mean it's not possible or fair for all exams to go ahead this summer as normal. The Education Secretary will work with Ofqual to put in place alternative arrangements. We will provide extra support to ensure that pupils entitled to free school meals will continue to receive them while schools are closed, and we will distribute more devices to support remote education. I completely understand the inconvenience and distress this late change will cause millions of parents and pupils up and down the country. Parents whose children were in school today may reasonably ask why we did not take this decision sooner. And the answer is simply that we've been doing everything in our power to keep schools open because we know how important each day in education is to children's life chances. And I want to stress that the problem is not that schools are unsafe for children.
Children are still very unlikely to be severely affected by even the new variant of COVID.
Merely because they actually did a shitload of studies already. And any child up to around the age of 12 can tend to hold a large viral load and not transmit it to anybody.
The problem is that schools may nonetheless act as vectors.
Vector! That's me, because I'm committing crimes with both direction and magnitude.
For transmission, causing the virus to spread between households. Today, the United Kingdom's chief medical officers have advised that the country should move to alert level 5, meaning that if action is not taken, NHS capacity may be overwhelmed within 21 days. Of course, there's one huge difference compared to last year.
There's absolutely nobody. No security. Where's the security staff? I haven't even seen them. Lights off in there. Cardiology.
We're now rolling out the biggest vaccination programme in our history.
Not only is it the biggest vaccination programme, call it what you like, they've also managed to add to the statistics, if you fall over and break your leg, get gangrene in your leg and die, it's COVID. If you get run over by a bus, it's COVID. A lot of people who'd actually go to hospital just to get something checked out and then get put on a waiting list doesn't happen anymore. There's a lot of people just not going to hospital because they don't want to put up with all the shit they're going to get. So they've managed to actually reduce most of the waiting lists, which is saving them a fortune. And the waiting lists that they've got are all elective. They're selecting which ones to do first. So they're actually shunting people further down the list who may not end up going, who might just end up on the other list as a statistic.
So far, we in the UK have vaccinated more people than in the rest of Europe combined.
Now I'm going to slot in the actual video where the image gap is still there and you're going to get the audio gap. Just keep listening and keep watching.
So far, we in the UK have vaccinated more people than in the rest of Europe combined. With the arrival today of the UK's own Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, the pace of vaccination is accelerating.
So, I got rid of the gap in the audio. I realigned the video with the audio earlier. So, his speech actually falls into line with his mouth when he actually opens it. You can see the lies. And this is what you get in this section. This is only the first one that's really dubious.
With the arrival today of the UK's own Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, the pace of vaccination is accelerating.
Are you ready for this? There's no such word. Doesn't exist. Accelerating. Go look it up. There's nothing. But it does relate to something. If you know how to look for stuff. If you know how to notice the little things they keep mentioning, what they always edge towards, what they always have some way of putting out there so as somebody who knows picks up on it. Every single time they do it. Accelerating. Let me tell you about this. They're gonna push this country to its utmost fucking limits. They're gonna push you harder and harder until you fucking crack. Don't believe me? Guess who it relates to? This whole corona business. Why is it called corona again? That's right, it's to do with a crown. It's really interesting when you get into it. Because it relates to the crown because it looks like the crown of somebody's head. Well, whose head? Well, who's the first head honcho? How's about the first king? I found that odd when I found that. Coronavirus and all this business going on. He comes up with a brand new word, accelerating. And it doesn't relate to anything except only by relation of word, maybe. But it pulls up the first king. We're getting the gist yet. We haven't even hit that second glitch.
I can share with you tonight the NHS's realistic expectations for the vaccination programme in the coming weeks. By the middle of February, if things go well and with a fair wind in our sails.
A fair wind in their sails. Would that be from the seas of the Vatican? It's in legislation.
We expect to have offered the first vaccine dose to everyone in the 4 top priority groups identified by the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation.
They made the list. They'll have checked it more than twice. Think there's anything naughty or nice? Remember, all these people have been, you could say, selected. Or, as they've even said, targeted for, necessity. Whose necessity? Bear it in mind, they like playing these word games. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could fucking throw them. Get ready for this next bit.
That means vaccinating all residents in a care home for older adults and their carers, everyone over the age of 70, all frontline health and social care workers, and everyone who is clinically extremely vulnerable.
The most interesting thing here is exactly what is said and then what's not said. Because it's vitally important. Listen to it.
If we succeed in vaccinating all those groups, we will have removed huge numbers of people from the... And of course, that will eventually enable us to lift many of the restrictions we have endured for so long.
Would you like that again? I'm sure you'd like that again. Go on, listen to it again. Listen to what's said, what's not said. Does it stand out yet?
If we succeed in vaccinating all those groups, we will have removed huge numbers of people from the... And of course, that will eventually enable us to lift many of the restrictions we have endured for so long.
Coincidence, right? Conspiracy theory. Yeah. How? How the hell did I make that? Go and look at it on YouTube. If they haven't taken it down already. Go and have a look.
It's a totally separate thing. It's a coincidence. Total coincidence.
You wouldn't believe how many times I've gotten that answer.
I must emphasise that even if we achieve this goal, there remains a time lag of 2 to 3 weeks from getting a jab to receiving immunity, and there will be a further time lag before the pressure on the NHS is lifted. So,
and one of the other good pieces of news from this morning's announcement is that we can roll this vaccine out faster because we only need to give the second dose after 12 weeks.
Now we've got a timescale, we can fuck around with you every 3 months. How does that sound? We're going to fuck with you every 3 months.
We should remain cautious about the timetable ahead.
12 weeks, March 2021. For over a fucking year, I've been fucking telling you this shit's coming. Bear me, innit? How am I getting so fucking good at this?
But if our understanding of the virus doesn't change dramatically once again, if the rollout of the vaccine programme continues to be successful, if deaths start to fall as the vaccine takes effect, and critically, if everyone plays their part by following the rules, then I hope we can steadily move out of lockdown, reopening schools after the February half-term and starting cautiously to move regions down the tiers.
Oh, the tiers. Oh yeah, almost forgot about that. Didn't I actually tell you you're only going to move down the tiers? Isn't the best place to be at the top? But every time they mention the tiers, you're always moving down. You're not going back fucking up. Period.
I want to say to everyone right across the UK that I know how tough this is. And I know how frustrated you are, and I know that you've had more than enough of government guidance about defeating this virus. But now, more than ever, we must pull together. You should follow the new rules from now, and they will become law in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Parliament will meet largely remotely later that day. I know that the devolved administrations in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland share my conviction that this is a pivotal moment, and they're taking similar steps. The weeks ahead will be the hardest yet, but I really do believe that we're entering the last phase of the struggle, because with every jab that goes into our arms, we are tilting the odds against COVID and in favour of the British people. And thanks to the miracle of science, not only is the end in sight, but we know exactly how we will get there. But for now, I'm afraid you must once again stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives. Thank you all very much.
Breaking the lockdown. Breaking the lockdown. Breaking the lockdown.
It's a totally separate thing. It's a coincidence. Total coincidence.